Hello? Hello? Okay. My internet is trash, but keep up the good work, brother. You inspire me. Thanks, bro. Appreciate that. Love to have the support, bro. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. The support from you guys, bro. Thanks, bro. Dude, the support from you guys is incredible. Like, realistically, like, I mean, retention would have probably been a little bit harder, like significantly harder, I would say, if I didn't have people in the comment section like rooting me on, bro. Like, that is incredible. And I know that everyone doesn't get that opportunity in their lives, which is why I do really strongly advise that, men find other men to mesh with and be with. Because when you do that, I mean, you really do build yourself walls, and you kind of also build yourself like a life, right? You're building relationships, you're building ways in which you specifically cannot be attacked. If your moment to moment life is built in constant, what do you want to call it, like reassurance or validation of the person that you're trying to become, do you think that you're going to become that person faster or slower? Do you think that that's going to help you or hurt you? It's always going to help. And so, like, having you guys just on my channel is incredible. But I know there's a few people watching. If you do have any questions, dude, I'll answer anything you guys want. I know that there was a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but I got a couple comments where people are like asking very small sorts of questions or maybe very personal questions, and I was like, well, I can't really answer that in just a whole video. I mean, I guess I could, but it would probably be more optimal if I did some sort of a live stream. So maybe, on top of doing the videos week to week, um we will do, some live streams during the week so I can talk to you guys and give you guys a little bit more um help, I guess, along the way, if you have any specific questions for me. A day in the journey, it got noticeably easier. Oh, you're a day in the journey, it got noticeably easier. Yeah, so I would say realistically, you do develop some, it does get easier the more that you try. So even if you relapse, I'm not saying that you can relapse like multiple times and it gets easier, but I am saying that if you're trying and you're going spurts without relapsing, like let's say, a week here, a week there, maybe 2 weeks there, and then you relapse, or maybe a couple of days and then you relapse, and then maybe you do a month and then relapse, and a month and relapse. Like, those are long enough periods of times to where you're actually making progress. So it gets noticeably easier, I would say, after about 2 weeks. Like, actually noticeably easier. And then from there, it gets it consistently gets easier, but it like fluctuates as well. So it's like it consistently gets easier, but every time it gets harder, it always gets much easier than it was before. And that's because of like several different things that I can get into later. But yes, it definitely gets easier after 2 weeks for sure. What's up, man? Oh wait. Oh, was there a day in the journey I got noticeably easier? Yeah, so 2 weeks. 30 days in, I feel different, yes, but when did you start to feel a big change? So it's interesting. I don't really feel like I felt a big change. Like it wasn't like one day I woke up and there was a big change. But I will say that on day 41, and I've talked about this multiple times on my videos, day 41, I went through a very, very intense flat line. And that flat line lasted about two weeks of just pure suck. And then it took about a week after that to kind of come out of it. And I can't really explain exactly how incredibly liberating that felt. But when I knew that I was coming out of it, and I did come out of it, I felt like I was able to enjoy life in a different way. So I would say I felt it's probably the biggest change after 2 months. So after 2 months, I experienced this sort of like, I don't know, I would constantly reflect back on my life or back on the person that I was before I started my journey. And when I did it 2 plus months in advance, I noticed that I was so incredibly different in my thinking and in the way I conducted myself moment to moment that I genuinely didn't realize it in the moment, but I started to understand that I was beginning to enjoy life on a regular basis. Like, dude, I remember I couldn't play video games, and it's not that I wanted to play video games, right? It's not necessarily like I had to play video games, right? But I couldn't play video games and enjoy them. I couldn't play. I couldn't play a board game and enjoy it. I couldn't sit down and read a book for 10 seconds and enjoy it. But now, I've built enough discipline and love for life and its many different weird challenges and many different weird ways that, I mean, there's just like this subtle joy for life that is constantly propelling me forward and putting me in the place that I need to be. So the biggest change was probably at day was 60 plus. Then another big change was at like day 80 or so, I started to get really, really, really good sleep. And that was probably due to a change in my diet, but regardless, it felt like retention was in the way of good sleep for a long period of time. And so once I got that really good sleep, I remember my brain like turned on. It was incredible. I didn't even understand that it was possible and that sleep was the issue, but my brain like turned on, and from then on I've kind of been just like really excelling in my spiritual life, in my day-to-day life, in my mental health altogether. So probably I would say a big one was at 60 days, and then you would probably want to say 3 plus months, maybe like 100 days is where I would put your sights on next. So yeah. Wise beyond your years. Funny how all the adult labeled things are actually the worst for us. Yeah, I don't understand. Well, they're adult in their language. They say, "Oh, it's for adults," but it's really for nobody. If you want to give it to a child, you shouldn't give it to yourself, bro. Like that's like the reality of what's going on, and it's not necessarily like, I don't know. It's not necessarily. I guess you can't say that with everything, but it's not necessarily good to say that there is, I don't know what you call it, like poison out there that is okay to ingest. It's like that's not really how this works. Like especially with pornography, it does not work that way. It's an exposure related thing. Obviously, back in the day, the the world, you didn't have the screens. Period. So if you just imagine life without any screens, that's already pretty hard, especially coming from a person who literally grew up with a phone, right? But imagine a life without the screen matrix, right? But if you could do that, right, and then also imagine to yourself, um, like no news, just like tribe, like if you were just in a tribe of like 20 or 30 people, like a village. Well, that's a very communal place, I would say. Everything's pretty public. Life is pretty simple. And because of that, you're not really challenged to um, go outside the norm because why would you? That's not even I mean, that's shamed upon, and like no one would do that. But since nowadays it's accepted because we can label something that's poison as adult, we can say that, oh, it's actually an exclusive thing. It's like a complete rebranding. It's just taking everything that we used to form our society around to get rid of, and just flipping it on its head and making it seem more appetizing for everybody, especially children. Like that's the weird thing. Like why do we label all the things as adult specifically so that children, right? Specifically so that children will covet these things, right? Why do we talk about these things in regards to them giving some sort of happiness and some sort of satisfaction? Well, because we have too many people out there who have been brainwashed by it, but also too many people out there who don't know the reality of what they're doing to themselves. How's the YouTube journey been? Did you have to overcome self-doubt when you started? It takes courage to be open about these things on the internet. Okay, so yeah, that's actually a very good question, bro. Thank you very, very much, Kevin. Um, yeah, so the YouTube journey has kind of been, I would say, more of a side project. I really haven't focused on it much, but I will say that the reason I started it, the reason I started making videos in the first place was just to literally vent. And I may have not talked about this enough, and I probably should make a whole video on it, but I used to make so many voice memos in my phone, or I would take videos of myself the same way I post them on YouTube, and I would talk about a thing that I was thinking about, and I would just vent to myself, and it was my virtual journal. And when I did that, right, I had a lot more clarity. But I remember I also like was able to take that feeling that was tied with um that sort of, I don't know, thought and deeply processed thing. I don't know. I was able to take that and overcome it. So I knew that I was like, well, someone's got to get some value out of this, because if I'm going through it, I know there's more people going through it. So let's just post it on YouTube. I don't care about the views at all. Like I said, it was a side project. I might as well have just made the video and put it in my camera roll. Instead, all I was doing is just putting it on YouTube. And I said, I don't care if anybody watches this. In fact, I used to make YouTube videos and nobody watches. So I was like, perfect. No one's going to watch these. I can throw them on YouTube. At least maybe one person, can get something out of this. That's literally the mindset I had, which sounds so cliche, right? And then I guess what really spiked interest was I got a couple hundred views, and I was like, wow, that's insane. A couple hundred people watch this. So I started talking about things that, I thought were interesting. And the first one to blow up was about women. And then I was like, oh, okay. So people are dealing with pretend, and I got to slowly understand what people want. And I was like, okay, I need to be doing this for people. I'm doing this for the pursuit of helping others entirely. So that's when I developed the courage to open up, I guess, a little bit more about my personal experience with my addiction and just my personal life, because I think that, I mean, I don't know anybody who's watching my videos that I know in real life, but at the same time, it's just like, why not be open, bro? Like, my life, I guess, is not an open book to y'all, but at the same time, why hold it inside when, it's there to help people? That's the entire purpose of why God gave me this experience, is because I can not only experience the radical changes of going through retention in my day-to-day life, but also now I can experience helping you guys just from experience, like just from pure experience. I'm not like a scientist or a doctor. I'm just one guy giving his account who's experienced this in multiple different ways and thinks a lot, I guess. So, yeah. Have you ever thought or discussed deeply about the relationship between food and PMO? I was using both to release dopamine. Couldn't stop PMO until I gained discipline on my food. Okay, so this is interesting. I also do agree. So I think porn specifically is very, very potent, right? We all know this, but far more potent than we ever understand until we get to go on a long-term retention streak. And then let's say you look back at something like that, you can feel the terrible feeling that it gives you inside your chest, inside your head. Similar to if you were to eat like a bowl of, I don't know, Oreo ice cream or whatever. Actually, that's not that bad. Like a chocolate fudge cake, right? If you were to do that, right, it would be an incredibly similar experience. Not just like in terms of just purely in terms of feeling, not in terms of like shame or guilt, right? Because you may not feel guilty about that, but you feel guilty about watching porn. So I noticed that not I don't know. When I was transmuting, they always like to say transmutation in the retention community, transmuting my sexual energy into, working out, but rather just like using, instead of using my energy on masturbation or anything like that, using it to go and work out, I figured out that this was actually propelling me to gain an even more deep intensity for life, like an even more deep love for life. Because when I was able to take my energy and put it to something useful, right? Um, Time and time again, without any breaks, to go back to lust, I figured out like, oh, this is actually what it's all about, right? Realistically, what we're doing here is we're not, I don't know, we're gaining reps, right? We're retraining our nervous system. And so with the food thing, since porn and food, have a similar feeling when you engage in them. Um, I think there's a lot of like biological things, like you crave processed carbs, you're going to crave pornography as well, because there's some sort of link between the two, right? Like I said, the feeling is similar, engaging in both. So there's probably, you're just activating both neural pathways at the same time when you engage in one or the other. So I don't know. But I also noticed when I went carnivore for a little bit, lost all desire in women. I was like, it felt like my testosterone was like through the roof, and I was just so focused on life. But then that got pretty bad. So now that I'm on keto, it's still that discipline is still very much there, but it's a little bit less because the carbs have come back into my diet. So yeah, but I definitely agree with that. Discipline in your diet, and well, discipline in the gym, but especially discipline in your diet, is one of the best ways to get you through this sort of addiction and help you. How people treat you on semen retention? So I see this one a lot in the retention communities. um i I always notice that people are talking about, I want, like that people are bowing down to them when they walk around and whatnot, and you know girls are just walking up to them or whatever. I don't know. The reality is, people do treat you differently. Okay, actually, I'll say this. From day 80 on, after I started getting really good sleep, people started treating me very, very good. Everyone was very nice to me, especially men. There were many men in my life that were just starting to be very nice to me, very respectful of me, which I thought was awesome, right? Because I had never experienced that before. And I thought that was really, I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot. And so, yeah, so in that way, I think once I got past, more into the 3 month range, people started to treat me a lot better. I will say, I don't think women have changed. I think most women actually don't uh, talk to me in the same sense that, like, not like the same way that men do. I mean, most women that I do talk to are very respectful, very kind towards me, but most of them, I think, might be intimidated by me a little bit, or that there is always that weird dichotomy where maybe there are a lot of women that are into me, but they're intimidated to talk to me. Like, who knows? But I will say this: I've been on dating apps throughout this entire streak, and I've been getting a lot more quality matches on dating apps. Whether I actually go out on a date with them or not, I still get really good quality matches, and I think that there's something to be said about that. So, yeah. But I notice people treat me the best when my mind is purely and 100% intentionally focused away from lust. when I am not directing my energy towards women, oftentimes women show up in my life. So it's not necessarily that, you know, you have herds of women flocking to you or herds of people bowing down to your knees, whatever. But you do have this sort of understanding that there is respect given by people, and that makes them act a certain way, whether it be coming up and talking to you directly or you know, just staying out of your way. And so I will say it's an empowering thing regardless. Um, so yeah, you're so right. Secrets kill us from the inside. Yeah, secrets do kill us from the inside. I think secrets are a cope, right? So when you are secretive about something, or you're trying to hide stuff, you begin to, yeah, I mean, you begin to rot from the inside out. It's what am I trying to say? I mean, basically, it is a cope, right? The more that we cope, the more that we engage with our trauma and give it power through coping mechanisms like lying, or a secret, right? You're gonna have a lot of spiritual death in that regard. Have a good night, man. Have a good night. I wonder if I should do streams like this like once a week. If I had like a home base once a week, like on Wednesday nights per se, right? Maybe that would be good. Love you, buddy. Thanks for all the videos. Day 62. Love you too, bro. Appreciate it. Day 62. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. I will say, there's a lot of people that I've talked to who've been on retention for a long period of time, and they always say, once you get past, 4 or 5 months, you don't really ever go back. I don't know if that's true, but I do notice that after I reach 100 days, it's just like so obvious to me that there's no reason to go. I just don't know if I could let myself do that anymore. So one more question. How do you suppress that thought of involving in PMO at that moment? I think the best way to do it is to develop a comfort, or maybe not comfort, but develop a understanding in urge surfing. So if you feel an urge coming on, just surf it. Like, just let it affect you. Tell yourself, okay, my brain is throwing a message at me. It's telling me a thing. It's telling me that I should do something. Okay. Let's just see how this plays out if I don't even move, right? Let's just see how this plays out if I never even move, right? We can act on this whenever we want. We can do whatever we want with this thing. But, just put your phone away, put your laptop away, just close it, put it down, and just say, let's just see what happens if I don't engage with this thought at all. And I will tell you, every single time, it will go away. And the second that you notice it go away, your nervous system will rewire in that moment at least a tiny bit. It will gain just a tiny bit more knowledge that you inherently have power over the urge. And that long term, if you can do that several times and develop a comfort and a confidence in doing that, long term, you will give yourself an ability to overcome the urge in the moment every single time. So you'll do it naturally is what I'm saying. You'll do it on cue naturally as a result of an urge coming up. And when you do that, right, when you develop this natural inclination to get rid of that, you start to separate from that identity of being a gooner more and more. And that is really what we want. That is what retention is about. We don't just want to force ourselves, right, through this sort of practice. We want to engage, adapt, and overcome, right, and break free. That's really the thing. Engage, adapt, to overcome. Ooh, I should make a video about that. Engage, adapt, overcome. So many good video ideas. I should write these down. So I can't remember what that first one was, but yeah, I'll make a video about that. You can see my hair getting thicker, man. Yeah, dude. So I stopped using shampoo, and well, okay, my hair did get thicker at like 2 weeks on retention. That was one thing I did notice, and I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." So losing your hair, if you want to try and get your hair growing thicker, then try out retention. Maybe it'll give you a couple. Maybe it'll give you some thicker hair. And on top of that, doing the no shampoo has definitely helped my hair grow. So I don't know if it's getting thicker, but it's definitely growing. I've always kind of had thick hair. So vid, engage, adapt. Will this stream be uploaded? Fuck, dude. Sorry. If hopefully, I will try. I don't know if it's gonna pre-download it because I'm filming on my phone. I don't know if it'll pre-download itself to my phone and then I can upload it. But if if I can upload it, I will try to upload it. Other than that, I will stream next week. So I think that so far this has been a success. So I'll just stream again, see what happens. We've been on here for 26 minutes. Keep it to maybe like an hour. I do have to go to bed here soon. So. Engage, adapt, overcome. I can't remember what the first thing it was that I talked about. I should make a video about. Maybe I go back through the questions. $30, $60, $90, maybe. No, what did I say? Self-doubt. Discuss deeply about the ratio. Yeah, I can't remember. Engage, adapt, overcome. That should be the next video. Yeah, so if there's some sort of like thing that I post on or I talk about here that, I think is significant to go and make a video about, like I just came up with one video that I should probably upload at some point in time, this week or next week. But if there's something significant, I'll write it down and I'll make sure to talk about it in one of my upcoming videos because why not? I mean, I think that that's incredibly important. What's best, right? So, yeah. Like I said, guys, if you got any questions, bro, just throw them at me. I will talk about anything regarding some of the topics that I put down here. Yeah. This is my water bottle. This thing is massive. I think it holds about a gallon. I try and drink about one of these a day. But sometimes I'm better than other days. Hydration is so incredibly good. What are my career goals? So I'm currently majoring in finance at my local university, and what I really want to do is get a job. Like, I don't really care exactly what I'm doing. Getting into real estate or maybe some sort of land analyst would be kind of cool, but I just want to get a job out of high school. My career goals are not super specific, but I do want to try and own my own sort of practice one day, like whether that be my own sort of financial advising firm or my own sort of company, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Right now, I'm just in college, so I don't know. When I was out on my own, I wasn't in college. I took like a gap year, and during that year, I moved out of my parents' house and went and worked in the union. And when I worked in the union, I I developed a lot of sense about the world. I had a lot of different weird experiences and whatnot. And so I think what I learned the most during that time was that I just want to level up in my job opportunity. So when you're in the union, you do have a lot of opportunity, but the jobs that you're getting are not the best, at least in my opinion. So the career goals that I'm pursuing now are more of I kind of want to have like a white collar job, but like if I get older, man, and like I got to go back to working with my hands or maybe doing some yard work or something, starting a business that way. When I have like a family and whatnot, I'm definitely going to do that. It's just, college is just, it's fun right now. It gives you something to really work on. And it's, yo, what's up, Mikey? Dude, I love your comments, bro. Dude, Mikey, everyone say what's up to Mikey, bro. Legendary commenter. But yeah, so just whatever is necessary. But college right now, it gives me something fun to do, something enjoyable to engage in. And it's easy to make money in college. Like low key, I'm gonna be honest. When I was in high school, I should have been making way more money in high school. I just didn't have a work ethic because I was younger. But like when I was in high school, I had so much free time. I'm in college, dude. I have a lot of free time now. I get to go and kind of do what I want. It's chill. I love it. It's amazing. Like I love how I live my life right now. I kind of wish college didn't take as much of my time up, but that's just how it is. And all I do is work two part-time jobs, and I make a good amount of money. Like I make enough money for me to, you know, live my life. And, and that's good enough for me, dude. Like I know that there's some people out there that are probably like, dude, why aren't you striving for more? You're on retention. You probably, aren't doing retention right because you're not out here making, buku bucks. That is not the scenario that I myself would even be pursuing if I had the opportunity. There's way too much stress in that. I'm a low stress individual. I'm very chill, and dude, I really just like the experience of life, genuinely. So money's not everything. Sometimes I had a streak of 65 days in the month of June, July, and it helped me crack a cybersecurity job. Oh, dude, that's awesome. That is awesome, dude. I always love it when I see people who do, retention streaks and they achieve something big like that, or they land a new job or a promotion. I'm like, dude, that is exceptional. So, I mean, it must be a really obvious way to show that retention does actually work. So many people out there, dude. You can have a conversation with them, show them my videos, show them other people's videos, go to Reddit forums, Quora forums, say, hey, this is all the information. They'd still be like, y'all are crazy. Which, crazy is a valid word, I'm not gonna lie. But to say that there's no evidence in it is obviously just not true, bro. But for some people it's hope, but for a lot of people it's just the lack of knowledge, I'm gonna be honest. Maybe for everybody it's a cope in your eyes, but I don't know. I think that some people just don't know enough about the ways in which sexual energy can be leveraged, just purely because they've never been taught. But bro, my water bottle is so big. Have you ever explained what convinced you to begin retention? I don't think so. Maybe I have. So, why not? I guess I'll just go through the whole thing. I'm not gonna make it too long for you though. So I I was kind of addicted to like smoking weed for a while, and I would do it every now and then. One time, well, then I got off of it for a long period of time, all the way up until I don't know, like probably April of this past year. That's actually no. Okay, so let me step back. Sorry, 2 years ago, that's when I stopped, and then when I was in 2 years ago from now, a year ago from now is when I started to take the CBD oil. So about in January of last year, I started to take the CBD oil, and it gave a similar effect of to just smoking. And I took that for about um, I took that for about 5 months. But while I was taking it, I was making a bunch of money trading stocks, so I didn't want to stop because I thought that was helping me. And I know that that's probably more of a conversation there, but it was weird. Then one day I got really, really bad panic attacks. And dude, when I got those panic attacks, I realized that I started to look at my life and I was like, dude, I don't even have a connection to the world that I'm looking at right now. It was literally like I was having a consistent out of body experience where I just constantly did not associate with the life that I was living. I was like, what the hell is happening? So that went on for a couple months. I had panic attacks every day for several months. Then when I went back um, to the Reddit pages where I was telling people about my symptoms and they were kind of saying that they've experienced the same sort of thing, I was like, oh, this place is actually pretty nice. So I kept Reddit. I would always delete it because it has stuff you shouldn't look on it. So I kept Reddit, and then eventually I stumbled upon the semen retention um, subreddit, and I was like, "What's this?" And I looked at these guys, and I was like, "Whoa, that's a really." One guy posted like his experience from like 60 days, and I was like, "Whoa, that's a really passionate experience." It's almost like someone I've heard talk at my church or something. It's like, it's very odd. Didn't think anything of it. Then I was journaling a lot, trying to get my life back in order, working out, and I just decided to go back to that, see what that guy was saying. I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try. If this guy is being for real, I'll give it a try. 7 days, 1 week. I went in, started to feel a lot better. 2 weeks, got to 2 weeks relapsed. During those 2 weeks, I had zero panic attacks. Zero. I got rid of my panic attacks completely, um, reversed my experience with the world. The clarity in my eyes was coming back. Everything about my body was regenerating very quickly in that moment. And it was because, I had been so disconnected. When you're so disconnected, I mean, retention brings you back like that, especially in the beginning. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Like, this is obviously, there's something here. This is obviously the way. And so as I did it, I just began to get more and more integrated into the community, understand more about the benefits. And, eventually having the long streak and committing full force led me to doing this YouTube channel, and that be that. Helped me get very good grades last semester. I committed even harder after that to the long streak. So got a lot of questions. Hi, what do you think about the WFPB diet? WFPB, thanks, Mikey. Um, yeah, me too, bro. It was really weird how I stumbled upon it. I don't understand. I don't know. It's just probably just like a hand God sort of moment. I don't know what the WFPB diet is. If you can tell me what that is, I'll respond to that. Just did 30 days, failed. I'm back on notice that I'm a bitch when I don't retain and weak. Um, oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, dude. There, you nailed it. That word kind of sums it up. So, yeah, dude, I wish it wasn't like that, right? I kind of wish that, you could have some sort of dopaminergic effect of, you know, not, I don't know, I guess I don't wish it because I love the benefits, but I guess I do wish that, you didn't feel so bad when you relapsed. I know it's really hard in that acute moment, but I will say this, every single time you do relapse, it's important that it feels bad. When it feels bad, you know that your system is in check. If you don't feel bad, I'm gonna be honest, you may be far off and you're gonna have a lot of healing to do. Feeling bad is incredibly healing because it gives you a reason to never go back. Like if you feel bad when you eat, let's say you're lactose intolerant, you feel bad when you drink milk, you're not going to drink milk because you're just going to feel bad. That's kind of what you're building when you relapse. Um, when did you stop smoking weed? I just hit 55 days on retention and I finally quit. So I actually stopped smoking weed May of last year because I also count the CBD oil in the weed the same thing because it was the same thing, for me at least. And so May of last year, I noticed the effects of my weed withdrawal entirely go away around the middle of this streak, so around 60 days, 50 to 60 days. So what would that be? November, June, July, August, September, October, November. Yeah, so 6 or 7 months is what it kind of took for me to fully come out of that. And I think it probably takes a little bit longer if you've been smoking longer. And if you've been smoking for maybe like 20 years, it's going to take a significant amount of time. Same thing as if, thank you for clarifying that. Same thing as if you were, watching porn for 20 years or whatever. It's going to be the longer that you're addicted, the more of a nervous system base that you have supporting your already jambled up nervous system on top of an identity, right? So it's like it's a messed up nervous system with a reassurance policy of smoking weed and a identity that thinks that, there's some merit to smoking weed. So when you start to cut all that out, it's just like a floodgate of just constant like remapping of neural networks and whatnot. So it gets I will say that when you finally quit, you got to give it, just like retention, you got to give it several months to really understand how much of a difference you made. So you make good videos, bro. Keep it up. Thank you, bro. Love your name. Adore Jesus. Well, bro, I'm glad you found. Thanks, Mikey. Hit the like button, everyone. Thanks, bro. Appreciate that. Whole food, plant-based. So let's go back to this question. Hi, what do you think about whole food, plant-based diet? So plant-based, very against it. I'm not gonna lie. Whole foods, I think they're great. Whole foods have their place in, I mean, of course, that needs to be everybody's diet. You need to always have a whole food diet. But, yeah, of course, no problem, bro. Respect you for asking the question. So, plant-based is bad, mainly because the makeups of plants, and we're probably talking specifically about beans and vegetables and probably nuts because you need to have protein from those, and that's where you get your protein. And you're also talking about fruit, but I'll get to that in a second. So plant-based vegetables have toxins in them, and those toxins are insecticides for predominantly insects, and they do similar things to us that they do in insects. And that could be a wide array of things, but oftentimes it's gut inflammation, which is always bad. Gut inflammation is the number one thing that is killing your heart, killing your skin, killing your hair, skin, nails, collagen production, and then you have a breakdown effect of that. However, that's not to say that there is no nutritional value in vegetables. The side effect of eating vegetables is that you fill your body with calories of a food that is far more nutrient anemic than meat, and you can't absorb the nutrients from a vegetable as much as you can from meat. And another thing is when you're eating things like nuts and seeds, you get the oils from those that latch onto your skin, and it combats the absorption of vitamin D and the red light that hits your skin. And so there's many different things that plants do well, but not well enough to where you would need them in your diet at all. So I actually think that the best way you can eat is animal based almost entirely, with the exception of carbs from something very quick like a starchy carb like a potato, maybe some oats, maybe if you handle them well, but predominantly animal meat, and that animal meat predominantly being beef, and fruit, which has pretty much no insecticides, much safer, fructose with glucose to replenish liver glycogen and muscle uh, glycogen. And the combined effect of that is a stable blood sugar. I think that all that combined with animal based eating, let's say a moderate to low fat diet with a lot of protein, you're always going to land like miles ahead of the average plant based or even the top end plant based dieter. And here's the thing that they're gonna get you with on plant based. When people do plant based, they often take vitamins, and maybe you're not taking vitamins. Maybe there is a diet out there where no one's taking vitamins and they're eating plant based. You can have nutrients in your bloodstream. So they'll do blood tests and they'll say, no, but my everything in my blood's good. Maybe hormonally I'm off a little bit here and there, and I need to, supplement with this and that. But everything in my blood's good. The issue is you can have nutrients flowing in your blood. That doesn't necessarily mean your body can absorb them. And that's the thing that they get you on. It's like, oh, well, I'm eating a plant-based diet, but my blood's good. It's like, well, your blood's good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your organs are good. And how do we test for that? Well, we need a long-term study on your organs. We need to take biopsies and shit. So it's like, it's a lot more in depth than that. And it's always about absorption. And there's been people who have died from being vegan. So plant-based, in my opinion, is just not the way to go. Good morning from Finland. Oh my gosh, dude. Morning time in Finland is crazy, bro. I wish it was morning time right now. It is the nighttime, which is chill, but I gotta go to bed soon. Okay, so I've seen lots of guys get into retention and then quit weed. I never did weed myself. Thank you, Mikey. The reason, Mikey, I wish I never did weed in my entire life. I wish I could go back and tell myself how much of a mistake I made. I think I did irreparable damage to a degree, and I can't prove it, but I feel like it's there, and I wish it just never happened. If it just never happened, I would have never had to make an identity swing. I would have never had to hang out with the people I hung out with, go through some of the experiences. I guess there is some sort of regret in my heart. Maybe I need to work through that, but it is not for you. It is very much against you. It's very different than alcohol. They say, oh, it's similar to alcohol. It's not. Very different. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my experience with it, but yeah. So, good on you, bro. Eating my 8 to 10 eggs daily and feeling good. Holy shit. 8 to 10 eggs is insane, bro. 8 to 10 eggs. I really wish I could handle that. Dude, I eat about 6 a day. So 6 is my upper limit. Sometimes I can't even handle it. It's just too much fat. But Dude, eggs are great, bro. Very good for sleep too. People underestimate the fact that eating beef and eggs raises your cholesterol. So if I ate a predominantly, let's say, carnivore diet, meat only diet, my cholesterol would be through the roof. That is a lot of amino acids, a lot of satiating hunger going into your system that I would argue gives you some of the best sleep of your life. Like, I don't know, when you eat your 8 to 10 eggs, it probably doesn't matter because you just eat so many. But if you were to eat eggs in the evening, I guarantee for a fact, dude, you would definitely get better sleep on top of doing other things like staying away from screens, you know, 30 minutes before bed, you know, drinking your electrolytes, making sure that you get adequate sunlight in the morning, all these things. If you did, you know, everything else on top of the cholesterol maxing is what they call it, or eating just more meat for cholesterol, then you are going to increase your sleep benefits. I've definitely noticed it. What do you think of intermittent fasting? I think intermittent fasting is probably one of the most underrated practices. Not because it's fun. It's actually not fun. And if you think it's fun, you're crazy. But no. Um, Intermittent fasting for me, I've tried it a lot. For a while there, I was trying to do 18, what is that, 6, 18 6. And I did that for about 2 weeks straight. That actually brought me out of my flat line at one point in time. Like when I was probably like 65 days in, is when I started doing the intermittent fasting thing. And dude, for the first week, it was very, very good. But I realized quickly that I just couldn't keep it up for very long. So I needed to take a break. And I just never went back to it because I enjoyed eating. So for me, I definitely have a threshold of glycogen that needs to be replaced over the course of, you know, very heavy carb meals in one single day or over the course of several days. So intermittent fasting is great, but since I'm very young, very active, I run out of calories. I run out of carbs. I run out of glycogen very quickly when I do that. And so I have to kind of be cautious. But if you do an 18-hour fast and you never have fasted before in your life, goodness. If you do an 18-hour fast and you never fasted before in your life, and then you eat a solid fruit, like let's say, you know, like a banana, some apples, some honey, a steak, and some eggs, oh, dude, that might be one of the best things you can do for yourself. That will feel so good. Far better than any sort of, you know, synthetic drug or whatever porn that they're pushing down your throat, bro. Like far better than whatever you're experiencing in the artificial matrix of your mind or behind the screen. It is so good. Your gut like is just like happy. It's just like happy. If it could express emotion in that moment, it would express happy. And I don't know how to explain that far more than that or any more than that. So, yeah. I fast every day, every Monday for 24 hours and forced intermittent fasting due to work obligations. Oh, because, yeah, skipping like breakfast or skipping lunch. I've definitely done that before. When I was working for the union, I would always skip breakfast, and I was seemingly healthier back then. I didn't understand why. I fast every day, every Monday for 24 hours. That's incredible, dude. My mom does that during, she'll fast every Friday for 24 hours during Lent, which is incredible, dude. I think that that's awesome. I haven't done a 24-hour. I've done a 20-hour, but I'm sure it feels great at some point in time. It's like usually after you get past the initial just hunger suck, it kind of opens up for you. I think breakfast is overrated. Yeah, probably. I mean, definitely most breakfast food is overrated. You just need protein like eggs, bacon, some beef, maybe, um, some fruit, maybe if you're going to go and work out soon. But yeah, breakfast is it's not necessary at least. And you could say that, there's no reason to eat breakfast. I definitely think that for me, I get hungry about 1 to 1.5 hours after I wake up, and I have to eat because then I will go into a ketogenic state of fasting, and that's kind of where my brain starts to fall apart in the mornings, and I don't like that. And so I notice once I eat during that time, I get a similar effect to just having not gone through the fasting phase at all. Hey man, just recently relapsed. Wasn't feeling really good about myself until my relapse, of course. Or I was feeling really good about myself until the relapse. Any tips for getting back on track? I know my life needs this, trying to break an 8-year cycle at 18. Goodness. Wow. Well, I guess the first thing to understand is that you are not rare. Um, Meaning that there are many men who have been in your exact situation that have asked that same question and gotten several different things in terms of advice and still gone on to completely get rid of this addiction. So I would say the first thing is when you relapse, the worst thing you can do is continue to relapse. When you relapse, the best thing you can do for yourself is get up and get yourself out of a situation to relapse a second time. And if you can do that, you are actually probably far better off than 99.9% of people who have relapsed. If you can just relapse and get right back on a streak, it doesn't even matter if that streak was 200 days. If you can relapse one day and that relapse just lasts one day, and get right on a streak the next day, you are so much better off because it's when you binge is really when it gets worse. Your brain fog just increases and it's not good. You start to develop some sort of enjoyment into it, and you neglect that guilt. And once you do that, you're just rewiring again with trauma infused now, and it's just there's a whole jambled system in there that I just think is it's really the root evil of relapse. It's not the relapse itself. If you feel bad after a relapse and you just keep on chugging along, just keep retaining after that, you're far better off than most people. Even some people who are on a long streak. So yeah, there's something to that. So hold your head up high and just make sure you don't do it again. Keep yourself in good faith, I would say. I tried a 2 week just water and electrolytes in April. Surprisingly, after you make it day 5, it's easy. Electrolyte fast, that's insane. I'm curious as to what your age is. Me personally, I'm 20 years old. I work out about every single day, and I sit in the sauna often. So electrolytes, I definitely need. So yeah. Probably gonna do that. But 2 weeks is incredible. I'm sure that's very awesome. Mikey V, if you fall off, get right back on and you lose little at all, no binges though. Yeah, I completely agree, Mike. It's just that's the worst. When you mess up and you neglect the fact that you messed up, it's just the worst. So there's always some sort of reaction necessary, and the reaction